Welcome back to the All Archers run of Final Fantasy Tactics. And today we are heading to Dorter Trade City. Now, Dorter Trade City, where do we even begin with this battle? For beginners, this is the first battle of the game that really takes a jump in difficulty level, and it's the first battle that notably kind of forces you to use some real tactical skills. The name of the game, Final Fantasy Tactics. You're outnumbered a little bit, you're outgunned a little bit, you finally have enemies with some area of effect damage, you've got some positional disadvantage, you've got some verticality finally in this game. You haven't had much of that yet. So this is the first battle that a lot of beginners, myself included, probably had to redo a few times until they figured it out, and even grind a little bit to have enough oomph, enough gas to overcome the difficulty in this battle. We'll have a look at the battlefield. Today, again, we are, of course, using all archers. That includes Algus and Delita. Everybody has a bow gun. That's notable because the bow gun, again, does not get a height advantage. It does not have a range advantage based on height. It's just 3 or 4 tiles away from you, regardless of height, and you must have line of sight also as well. So that's going to be important for this battle. That range can really help you when you are playing defensively, what I call the stick and move, where you can pop an enemy that's in your range and then get out of their movement range, especially melee enemies that need to be on the tile next to you. So you shoot, you run, you shoot, you run, you shoot, you run. And as long as you have room to do that, you can just do that forever. So this one, we've got a heavily armored knight, a couple of mages, and then an archer up top with a longbow that does have the range advantage. So those are the bigger threats. There also are a couple of other archers, one of whom is unarmed, interestingly. So that's just kind of a damage shield for your characters. But the archers here in this one using the jump +1 ability is very notable, because they can get up there better than those knights can. So with some movement items like the battle boots and with additional jump from the archer's ability, they can escape to the building up there a little bit more quickly than a lot of other parties can. Now this guy, because of his longbow, he's going to be hitting you turn 1 no matter what. He can target most of that whole chunk of the battlefield with that longbow. So he's going to be on you right away. And normally, Algus and Delita will go up and go after him, and if they do have bows, they can try to get him a little bit early. Now, a lot of what you'll see as I'm narrating this battle is me figuring out where I can move to be able to hit these various enemies. So a lot of it is me just kind of counting tiles. You'll see, unfortunately, I'm not as fluent with the game that I can just move and be confident right away. You do see a lot of tile counting. But so you can see she can target that top tile even though it's several squares above her. The bow would suffer a height penalty there. So I'm trying to make sure I can get these guys within striking range of these characters. So I can see my charge +2 is going to go off just after his charge +1, but not before he moves. So that's how the charge system works. Now, you do have some decisions to make with charge in that if you attack a character who is charging, you get a little boost to damage. And sometimes that can be more than what a charge boost will be if you charge till after they're done charging, if that makes sense right there. So you see it was scheduled to do 30. It ended up doing 21. There's not a good way, besides calculating outside of the game, to really figure out what the difference is going to be, in my opinion. So I'll have to get the algorithms guide out and see if I can more reliably calculate that out. Charges, they increase the attack of the ability, and it's a little bit complex as to how that works. We'll talk more about that in some other battles where I'm using it a lot more. So meanwhile, the wizards here are moving into position. I'm trying to get Ramza in position for what he needs to do. So we're going to be going after the wizards. That knight and that archer up top are kind of our big priorities. Also staying out of range of getting attacked and area of affected by those wizards. Generally, you would bring some wizards into this battle, some knights and some wizards into this battle. So you yourself can do some area of effect things on them. But of course, I don't have that luxury. I am just all on bow guns. Another thing we'll talk about is in a lot of these battlefields, it's advantageous to shoot and wait if you can, because your CT does not get reset all the way to 0 if you just do either an action or a move and not the other one. If you do both a move and an action, your CT gets reset to 0, so your turn will come up a little slower. But if you do just one, your CT doesn't get reset all the way to 0, so your next turn will come up a little more quickly. Here's me checking the CT list again, so you can see what order characters will get turns and actions. So I'm just out of range right there, and right here I would be also out of range because I'd be only 2 tiles away. I can't target the tile behind him because he's at the edge of the map. So it's tricky there. And so I'm just moving here to see if I can get line of sight on him, and indeed I can. Just with a regular attack, line of sight right there. When you see the 100% hit on these, that's because these guys have learned Concentrate, which is probably the signature ability of the Archer, and maybe the only one that you would carry over to another class if you were just casually playing this game. Concentrate allows all of your hits to hit 100% of the time. But later on in these battles, I will try to get an Archer in a good position and then just attack and wait, attack and wait, attack and wait as long as possible so that we can get as many attacks off as quickly as possible. And when their speed starts to amplify, you'll notice their turns really start to go up. So that Archer on top, meanwhile in Dorter, that Archer on top is done. The unarmed Archer down there, I think, is the one who's dead there. The heavily armored Knight can't get to us very easily yet. He's going to have to take a couple of actions before he can get up there, because his move's only 3 and his jump is not as high as ours. But you can see that Archer is charging. He has a bow gun that can reach Delita up through that high height. Now that wizard is going to be charging an area of effect spell, and I did bunch my guys up down there, partly out of necessity, partly because Algus got in there and mixed that up. So I have 2 wizards charging, and I would like to at least prevent one of those spells going off if I can. Again, you get a bonus to damage if the target is charging, because presumably it's just because they are busy and they can't defend themselves. So you get a little bit of a boost. But of course, you lose that if you charge, and your charge shot goes off after them. So I'm just trying to figure out what the best way is to hit this guy and who's all going to get turns to be able to move into range to hit him before his spell goes off. So Ramsey here is moving out of range, hopefully out of range of both the Knight and the Wizards that are trying to cast spells on me. And she can move into range of the Wizard and out of range of the spell. So she is going to go for the 21, and that is the instant kill on the Wizard there. And he's going to move in, looking for a good position to attack that Wizard. Again, he can't get 3 squares away from the Wizard, so I'm looking for a place to put him that I can target behind and stick him. So he gets hit with 24 right there. Here's the charge from that Archer on the other side over on Delita. Here's that fire spell. It will have some area of effect damage. Algus I don't care about, but it does hit my other Archer for 31, so he's going to be, he'll take another hit or 2. The Knight can probably take him out in one shot. So I do need to be careful about that. But I can clean up the last Wizard with him, and he's still going to be out of range of the Knight, at least this action. The Knight's going to be able to get to some of my other guys, but the character who has taken a hit is out of range, and we'll do that a lot in this run, where I'm trying to spread the damage out between the Archers, because generally they can take about 1 or 2 hits from some of the heavier melee characters, and even as we level up, that's going to stay about the same. They can take about 2 hits. On a 3rd hit, they're going to die, and then they're going to have a timer before we're going to lose them as crystals or as treasure chests. So I'm going to try not to lose anybody into crystals in this run. So when I miss somebody, I will reset usually. And I can't shoot over that Archer. If I had a bow, I could move into position there and shoot over that Archer's head, but I cannot shoot over his head. I need direct line of sight to that Knight, and I'm looking for a good spot to be in position to hit him. Checking out the CT list. And of course, I end up just going for that other Archer. Charge +1 goes off, and that archer is weak. So you can see, again, I'm trying to spread that damage out so that I can keep everybody at least alive and on their feet. They can keep attacking, and then, of course, we won't lose anybody into crystals. So these are, as much as they're kind of an aggressive class, we're also going to play things pretty defensively on a lot of the more tricky battles. And there will be some surprising battles where we are playing more defensively than you would think for a lot of battles that normally for casual players are pretty easy to just kind of rush through. You'll be surprised to see some of that as we go along in this route. So we have a couple of charge attacks here. That charge attack went critical and pushed the knight back a square. Now, she still hit because she was aiming for this tile he was on for line of sight, but he was knocked out of line of sight off a square from my other archer. So the female archer was still able to hit him there, but the other archer could not. So that's something you do have to actually watch out for and be a little bit careful of. Is getting Kais knocked out. So if you have lots of people charging on a tile, it can be dangerous to attack them, because if it goes critical, they can push them back. But that is the end of the Dorter Trade City battle. So a tricky battle beaten fairly easily with archers. So stay tuned. We will see you next time.